On the cold, sterile evening of March 15, 2024, the Serenity Spa, a haven of minimalist luxury nestled in the city's affluent West End, was unnervingly quiet. The last client of the night, an 18-year-old art student named Amina Adebayo, should have walked out into the crisp night air over an hour ago. Instead, her belongings remained, a silent testament to a presence that had inexplicably vanished. Her plush robe was draped over a chair in her private changing suite. Her phone, a sleek new model, lay face down on a marble countertop, a single unread message glowing on its dark screen. Her bag, containing her wallet and keys, sat beside it. The spa's night manager, a man named Daniel, had made the call to 911 at precisely 11:42 p.m. His voice was tight with a carefully managed panic. He explained that everything was accounted for, except the young woman herself. He had checked every room, every sauna, every quiet corner where a person might drift to sleep. There was nothing, just the lingering scent of eucalyptus and an oppressive, waiting silence. It was a situation that defied simple explanation. People did not just dissolve into the air. Detective Isabella Rossi arrived just after midnight. She was a veteran of the city's major crimes unit, a woman whose calm demeanor belied a mind that was constantly sifting, analyzing, and connecting disparate threads of information. She stood in the doorway of the changing suite, her eyes scanning the scene, not for what was there, but for what was not. There were no signs of a struggle, no overturned furniture, no spilled water, no sense of chaos. It was a pristine, orderly scene of disappearance, which was in its own way more disturbing than overt violence. What Detective Rossi didn't know, what no one could possibly know at that moment, was that this spa, a place built on the promise of peace and rejuvenation, kept secrets capable of destroying much more than a life, and that the young woman who had vanished within its walls had, in her final hours, stumbled upon a truth so monstrous it had demanded her silence. This was not a simple case of a person gone missing. It was the final tragic chapter of a story that had begun months earlier, with a chance encounter and a carefully crafted lie. A decision made out of hope would ultimately cost Amina Adebayo everything. To understand what happened on that March night, one had to go back to the previous autumn. Amina Adebayo had arrived in the city in September, a whirlwind of nervous excitement and formidable talent. She was the recipient of the prestigious Sterling Arts Scholarship, an award that had lifted her from her working-class neighborhood and placed her in one of the country's top design schools. She was brilliant, with a sketchbook full of designs that were both innovative and deeply personal, drawing on the rich textile traditions of her Nigerian heritage. Amina was striking, with intelligent, dark eyes that seemed to absorb every detail of the world around her. But beneath the surface of her quiet confidence was a profound vulnerability. She was 18 years old, alone in a sprawling, indifferent city for the first time. The scholarship covered her tuition and a meager dorm room, but little else. She worked part-time at the campus coffee shop, the smell of burnt espresso clinging to her clothes as she stretched her meager earnings to cover art supplies and food. Loneliness was a constant, unwelcome companion. Her dreams were vast and luminous. She envisioned a future where her name was synonymous with a new kind of ethical fashion, one that celebrated culture instead of appropriating it. She wanted to build a brand that would lift up other artists, to create a foundation, to make her family proud. But the path to that future was a narrow, precarious line, stretched over a chasm of financial insecurity. This deep, gnawing need for security, for recognition, for a mentor to see her potential, was the crack in her armor. It was the exact vulnerability a patient predator is trained to find. The encounter that changed everything happened on a drizzly Tuesday in October. Amina was huddled in a corner of a small independent coffee shop called The Daily Grind, a few blocks from the Serenity Spa. She was sketching furiously in her notebook, trying to capture the way the rain distorted the city lights on the pavement, her brow furrowed in concentration. She was so absorbed in her work that she didn't notice the man who had taken the table next to hers. He watched her for several minutes, his gaze analytical, assessing. He was an older man, perhaps 60, with silver hair impeccably styled and a face that was handsome in a severe patrician way. He wore a tailored cashmere coat that probably cost more than Amina's entire semester of living expenses. When he finally spoke, his voice was a soft, cultured baritone. He said with a warm, disarming smile that he hoped he wasn't interrupting, but he had been admiring her work from afar. Amina, startled, looked up. She was immediately flustered, her natural shyness kicking in. She mumbled a thank you, starting to close her sketchbook. He gently stopped her, asking if he could see. Hesitantly, she agreed. He turned the pages with a reverence that made her heart swell. He pointed out specific details, complimenting her use of line and her intuitive sense of form. He spoke the language of art, of aesthetics, with a fluency that captivated her. He was not just offering empty flattery. He seemed to genuinely understand her vision. He introduced himself as Arthur Finch, the owner of a few local businesses, including the spa just down the street. He explained that he was a passionate patron of the arts, always looking for new, emerging talent to support. He then began to weave the first threads of his carefully constructed persona. He spoke of his late wife, an artist herself, and how supporting young creators was his way of honoring her memory. It was a story polished by repetition, designed to evoke sympathy and build an immediate, unearned intimacy. For Amina, who felt so invisible in the bustling city, this was like a miracle. Here was a successful, sophisticated man who saw her. He didn't just see a poor student, he saw an artist. He asked about her goals, her struggles. She found herself opening up, explaining the crushing cost of materials, the difficulty of finding time to create between her classes and her job. Arthur Finch listened with an expression of profound empathy. He told her that talent like hers should be nurtured, not stifled by financial worry. Before he left, he handed her his business card. It was thick, expensive cardstock, embossed with a simple, elegant logo. He told her he had a small design project he needed help with, a new brochure for the spa. He said he would pay her generously for her time. It was, he assured her, just a small way to help her get on her feet. Amina walked back to her dorm that evening, feeling as though she were floating. The dreary, rain-soaked city suddenly seemed full of promise. She didn't know that she had not just met a benefactor, she had just met her hunter. The brochure project was the perfect opening gambit. It was legitimate, professional, and it gave Arthur a reason to be in constant contact with Amina. He was the ideal client, attentive, encouraging, and full of praise. They met several times at the spa, always in the public lounge area, where he would order her expensive herbal teas and pastries. He made her feel like a respected colleague, not a struggling student. He paid her triple the rate she would have charged, waving away her protests by saying that quality work deserved quality compensation. During these meetings, he continued to build his fabricated backstory. He told her about his own humble beginnings, a story of pulling himself up by his bootstraps. He created a false narrative of shared struggle, designed to make her feel that they were kindred spirits, separated only by age and circumstance. He spoke of loneliness, of how his vast success felt empty without someone to share it with. He was positioning himself not just as a mentor, but as a lonely, benevolent figure who needed her youthful energy as much as she needed his support. He began to systematically groom her, applying a deep and practiced understanding of human psychology. He learned the names of her professors and praised the ones she admired. He asked about her family back home and listened intently as she spoke of her love for her mother and younger siblings. He remembered small details she mentioned, her favourite colour, a type of music she enjoyed, and would bring them up later, creating a powerful illusion of being seen and heard. Communication became a daily ritual. He would send her encouraging text messages in the morning and call her in the evening to check in on her progress. Amina was completely enchanted. In a world that had demanded so much from her while giving so little, Arthur Finch felt like a sanctuary. She confessed her anxieties to him, her fears of failure. He would always respond with calm paternal reassurance. He told her she was destined for greatness, that he had never seen such a raw, untamed talent. He was filling a void in her life she hadn't even consciously realized was there. The need for a father figure, a guide, a protector. Her roommate, a practical and observant young woman named Chloe, was the first to sense that something was wrong. Chloe saw the change in Amina. She saw the new expensive art supplies that suddenly appeared. The designer handbag Amina claimed she'd found at a thrift store. The way her phone buzzed constantly, with messages from Mr. Finch. Chloe asked questions. Who was this man? Why was he so interested in her? Amina became defensive. She explained that Arthur was her mentor, her patron. She relayed the story of his late wife, his passion for the arts. Chloe was unconvinced. She pointed out that it was strange for a man his age to be texting an 18-year-old girl at all hours of the day. She warned Amina to be careful. Amina dismissed her concerns as jealousy. She told Chloe she just didn't understand. And in a way, she was right. Chloe didn't understand the profound, intoxicating power of being seen after a lifetime of feeling invisible. The wedge between the two friends had been inserted. The isolation had begun. The first truly extravagant gift came a month after they met. Amina had been complaining about her ancient, malfunctioning laptop, which was critical for her design work. A few days later, a courier delivered a brand new, top-of-the-line laptop to her dorm room. It was wrapped in a ribbon with a simple card that read, "An artist needs the right tools. Consider it an investment in your future." Amina was overwhelmed with gratitude. The gift was worth thousands of dollars, more money than she had ever held at one time. When she called Arthur to thank him, he was gracious and dismissive of the cost. He framed it not as a personal gift, but as a professional necessity. He was investing in her career, he said. This was a key part of his methodology. Every gift, no matter how personal or expensive, was shrouded in a cloak of professional justification. It was a strategy designed to bypass her natural defenses and create a powerful, unspoken sense of obligation. Soon after, he gave her a complimentary lifetime membership to the Serenity Spa. He told her it was a place for her to relax and find inspiration, to clear her head from the pressures of school. The spa was her first real taste of luxury. It was a world of heated marble floors, silent attendants, and water infused with cucumber and mint. She would spend hours there, sketching by the tranquil indoor pool, feeling a world away from her cramped dorm room and the constant worry about money. The spa became her sanctuary, a place she associated entirely with Arthur's generosity. It was also his territory, a controlled environment where he could observe her. The final piece of the isolation puzzle fell into place in December, just before the winter break. Arthur told her he had a proposition. He owned a small furnished studio apartment in a quiet building not far from the campus. The current tenant was leaving, and he wanted to offer it to her, rent-free. He explained it was a purely practical matter. Her dorm was noisy, he said, and her talent required a dedicated space to flourish. He presented it as a kind of artist-in-residence program, with her as the sole participant. Amina was hesitant at first. It felt like too much. But Arthur was persuasive. He framed it as a benefit to himself. He explained that it was better to have a responsible person like her living there than to leave it empty or deal with unreliable tenants. He appealed to her ambition, painting a picture of a life where she could work on her art at any hour, free from distractions. The allure was too strong to resist. She accepted. Moving into the apartment was a turning point. It physically separated her from her only real support system, Chloe and her other campus friends. The building was quiet, almost eerily so. Arthur had given her a new phone when she moved in. "To make sure you have a reliable line for work," he'd said. She didn't realize it came with pre-installed tracking software. He now knew where she was at all times. Her life was becoming a gilded cage, but the bars were made of gratitude, and she was the one who had willingly walked inside. Her contact with her old friends dwindled. Arthur filled her schedule. He would ask her to accompany him to gallery openings and charity dinners, introducing her as his protégé. She was dazzled by this new world, and he made her feel like she belonged in it. He subtly criticized her old friends, suggesting they were holding her back, that their student mindset was limiting her potential. He made her feel that her connection with him was a sign of her own maturity and sophistication. He told her that their mentorship was a special, unique bond that people like Chloe could never understand. By the new year, Amina's life was completely enmeshed with Arthur Finch's. He was her mentor, her landlord, her employer, and her sole confidant. The dynamic, which had been carefully maintained as professional, began to shift. The mask started to slip. The requests became more personal, the control more overt. It began subtly. He started making comments about her clothing, suggesting styles that were more sophisticated, more to his liking. He would buy her expensive dresses and tell her he wanted to see her wear them to their next business dinner. When she hesitated, he would feign hurt, reminding her of all he had done for her. He would say things like, "I've invested so much in your image, Amina. I just want you to look the part." Guilt became his primary tool of control. Every gift he had given her was now a debt to be repaid, not with money, but with compliance. The relationship was becoming explicitly transactional, but the currency was her autonomy. He then asked her to take on a more formal role at the spa as his personal assistant. The job came with a generous stipend that finally allowed her to quit her job at the coffee shop. This was the final step in securing her complete financial dependence. The role, however, was vague. It mostly required her to be available to him whenever he called, to run errands, to sit in his office while he worked, and to be present at the spa late into the evening. The rules became more explicit. He insisted she answer his calls immediately. He questioned her if she was a few minutes late meeting him. He used the tracking app on her phone to monitor her movements, disguising his surveillance as care. He would call her and say, "I see you're at the library. Don't work too hard." At first she found it comforting, a sign that he was looking out for her. But a seed of unease began to sprout in her mind. This wasn't mentorship, it was ownership. The first time she felt real cold fear was in late February. He had asked her to stay late at the spa long after the last client had left. He claimed they needed to discuss a new marketing campaign. They sat in his opulent, silent office. The professional pretense vanished. He told her how much she meant to him, how she had brought light back into his lonely life. His tone was no longer paternal. It was proprietary. He reached across the desk and took her hand. His touch was cold, and his grip was surprisingly strong. He told her he saw their relationship as something much deeper than a mentorship. Amina felt a knot of dread tighten in her stomach. She gently pulled her hand away, trying to steer the conversation back to business. She reminded him softly that she was grateful for his help, but she saw him as a mentor, a father figure. The warmth in his eyes vanished, replaced by a flicker of something hard and cold. It was a look of pure, chilling anger, gone as quickly as it appeared. He immediately regained his composure, smiled, and apologized if he had misread the signals. He told her she was right, that he had gotten carried away, but the mask had slipped, and Amina had seen the monster underneath. That night, she couldn't sleep. The entire architecture of her new life suddenly seemed sinister. The beautiful apartment felt like a prison. The expensive clothes felt like a costume. The phone felt like a tracking device. She was trapped. How could she leave? He was her landlord, her employer, the benefactor to whom she owed everything. To walk away would be to return to the poverty and uncertainty she had so desperately fled. He had designed this trap perfectly. Her fear propelled her to do something she hadn't done in months. She called Chloe. Her voice was trembling as she tried to explain the Anya situation, but the words wouldn't come out right. How could she articulate a feeling, a look in a man's eyes? Chloe listened patiently, and then said the words Amina needed to hear. "Get out of there, now. You can stay with me. Just pack a bag and leave." The simple, direct advice cut through Amina's confusion. She promised Chloe she would. That was the decision that sealed her fate. 3 days before her disappearance, on March 12th, Amina made a critical discovery. She was in Arthur's office at the spa, tasked with organising some digital files. He had stepped out for a meeting, leaving his personal laptop unlocked. A flicker of rebellion, fueled by her recent fear, made her curious. She started browsing his files, not sure what she was looking for, and then she found it. A folder, cryptically named Projects. Inside was not business information. It was a collection of subfolders, each named with a woman's first name and a year. There was Sophia 2021, Lara 2022, Isabel 2023. Her blood ran cold when she saw the last folder, Amina 2024. With a trembling hand, she clicked on her own name. Inside were photos of her, many of which she had never seen before, clearly taken from a distance. There was a detailed document profiling her financial status, her scholarship details, notes on her psychological state. Yearns for validation, isolated from peers, high achiever, susceptible to flattery. It was a clinical, predatory assessment of her deepest vulnerabilities. She frantically clicked on another folder, Isabel 2023. It contained a similar profile of another young woman, a music student. It detailed the same pattern of gifts, the same mentorship program, but the final entry in Isabel's file was a single, chilling sentence dated 8 months prior. Project terminated, asset liquidated, disposed. Amina felt the air leave her lungs. This was not about art. This was not about mentorship. This was a system, a hunt, and she was the current prey. She realized the horrifying truth. She was not special. She was just the latest in a line of vulnerable young women Arthur Finch had targeted, groomed, and, she now feared, disposed of. The spa, her beautiful sanctuary, was his hunting ground. The luxurious amenities, the soundproof rooms, the private entrances, it was all part of an elaborate machine designed for abduction and murder. How many others had there been? The folders went back over a decade. Terror gave way to a cold, desperate resolve. She couldn't just run. He would find her. He knew everything about her. He had to be stopped. She quickly took her phone and photographed the screen, capturing the file names and the horrifying notes in Isabel's file. She sent the photos to a new secret email address she created on the spot, an account he knew nothing about. It was a desperate, digital cry for help. Then she heard his footsteps in the hallway. She closed the folder and returned to her assigned task, her heart hammering against her ribs, her face a mask of forced neutrality. For the next 3 days, Amina lived in a state of hyper-vigilant terror, pretending that everything was normal. She knew he was watching her every move. She had to choose her moment perfectly. She decided that Friday night, March 15th, would be her chance. She told Arthur she wanted to spend a long evening at the spa to use the quiet to work on a major school project. It was a plausible lie. Her real plan was to get back into his office after everyone had left, to access that laptop again and download the entire projects folder onto a hidden flash drive she had bought with cash. It was an incredibly brave and incredibly reckless decision. She sent one last cryptic text to Chloe that afternoon. It read, "You were right about everything. I have to do something tonight. If you don't hear from me by morning, call the police. Tell them to look at Arthur Finch. Tell them to look on his computer." It was a message that would later become the cornerstone of the investigation. That evening, Amina went through the motions. She checked into the spa, changed into a robe, and pretended to relax by the pool. She was the last client, just as she had planned. The staff left one by one, until only the night manager, Daniel, remained at the front desk. At 10:30 p.m, she told him she was heading to the showers and would be leaving shortly after. He nodded, suspecting nothing. This was her window. The locker and shower area was empty and silent, the air thick with steam. Her plan was to change back into her clothes, slip into Arthur's office, get the files, and walk out the front door before Daniel even realised she'd been gone for more than a few minutes. She stepped into a shower stall to quickly rinse off. The rush of hot water did little to calm her racing heart. As she reached for her towel, a flicker of movement in the periphery caught her eye. She peered through the gap in the shower curtain. At the far end of the room, another curtain was pulled slightly aside. In the gap, she saw a face. It was Arthur Finch. His silver hair was damp, his expression devoid of any warmth. He was just standing there, watching her. The benevolent mask was gone completely, replaced by the cold, possessive gaze of a predator whose prey was about to bolt. Time seemed to stop. She realised with a surge of pure terror that he had known all along. He had been watching her on the hidden cameras. He knew she had seen the files. This wasn't a coincidence, it was an interception. He stepped out from behind the curtain. He was wearing a dark tracksuit, not his usual tailored suit. He moved with a speed and purpose that belied his age. He took 2 quick strides and was at her shower stall, ripping the curtain aside. Amina screamed, a raw, primal sound that was swallowed by the tiled walls. He lunged for her, his hand clamping over her mouth, the other grabbing her arm in a brutal, iron grip. "Did you really think it would be that easy?" he whispered, his voice a venomous hiss in her ear. "Did you think you could look into my world and just walk away?" His strength was terrifying. He was no frail old man. He was powerful, his body hard with disciplined muscle. She struggled, kicking and twisting, but it was useless. He was a creature of absolute control, and she had walked directly into the heart of his lair. He dragged her from the showers, her bare feet slipping on the wet tiles, her mind screaming. The last thing she saw was her own reflection in the large, steamy mirror, a face of pure, unadulterated terror. Before he pulled her through a service door she had never noticed before, a door that led down into the spa's dark, soundproof basement. The girl who had walked into the Serenity Spa full of hope was never seen again. Upstairs, Daniel, the night manager, waited. When Amina didn't emerge after 45 minutes, he grew concerned. He called out her name, his voice echoing in the empty spa. He did a full walkthrough, finding her abandoned belongings in the changing suite. He checked the street outside. Her bus pass was still in her wallet. She hadn't left. Confused and increasingly alarmed, he made the call that brought Detective Isabella Rossi to the scene. Detective Rossi's initial assessment of the pristine changing room left her with a deep sense of unease. This wasn't a runaway. A young woman like Amina, struggling financially, would not abandon a brand new phone and laptop. Rossi's gut told her that the spa itself held the answer. She began by interviewing the spa's owner, Arthur Finch, the following morning. Finch was the picture of concerned cooperation. He met Rossi in his office, offered her coffee, and spoke about Amina in glowing terms. He explained their mentorship, portraying himself as a charitable benefactor, shocked and worried by her sudden disappearance. He expressed his hope that she was simply a typical flighty teenager who had run off with a new boyfriend. His performance was flawless, his composure absolute. But Rossi, a keen observer of human behaviour, noticed something off. His eyes were flat, emotionless. His concern felt rehearsed. The first real break in the case came from Chloe. Fueled by worry and armed with Amina's final desperate text message, she went to the police. She told Detective Rossi everything about the older man, the expensive gifts, Amina's growing isolation, and the fear she had heard in her friend's voice. The text message was a bombshell. It gave Rossi a name, a motive, and a specific place to look. Arthur Finch's computer. Armed with Chloe's testimony, Rossi was able to secure a warrant to search the spa and seize all of Finch's electronic devices. The search was conducted quietly, professionally. Finch protested, claiming harassment, but he had no choice. As forensics teams combed through the spa, Rossi personally oversaw the seizure of his laptop. It was the key, and she knew it. While the tech unit worked to bypass the laptop's heavy encryption, Rossi dug into Arthur Finch's past. On the surface, he was a model citizen with a spotless record. But digging deeper, she found whispers and rumors. She discovered that a young female employee at one of his previous businesses had vanished without a trace 15 years earlier. The case had gone cold, dismissed as a runaway. Rossi felt a chill. This wasn't Finch's first time. The second crucial piece of evidence came from an unexpected source. A cleaner at the spa, a quiet immigrant woman named Maria, had been terrified of Finch for years. She had seen the way he looked at the young female employees, had noticed the high turnover rate. After the police search, her conscience got the better of her. She remembered seeing Amina on that final night, hiding something small in a little used linen supply closet. Mustering all her courage, she contacted Detective Rossi. Inside the closet, tucked away behind a stack of towels, Rossi's team found one of Amina's small sketchbooks. The last few pages were not designs. They were filled with frantic, terrified notes and a chillingly accurate portrait of Arthur Finch. Below the drawing, Amina had written the names she had seen in the hidden folder: Sophia, Lara, Isabel. It was a message from beyond the grave. Then came the call from the forensics unit. They had broken the encryption on Finch's laptop. The projects folder was exactly where Amina's text had indicated it would be. Detective Rossi watched in cold horror as the files opened on the screen, revealing a digital graveyard. There were profiles of over a dozen young women, spanning nearly 2 decades. Each file meticulously documented a systematic process of psychological entrapment, exploitation, and ultimately, termination. Finch was not just a killer. He was a serial predator of the highest order, a monster hiding in plain sight. The evidence was overwhelming. The police arrested Arthur Finch at his lavish home. His charming facade finally crumbled, replaced by a look of narcissistic rage. The investigation of the spa's basement revealed the final gruesome truth. Behind a false wall in a wine cellar, they found a small soundproofed room. Forensic evidence discovered there confirmed it was the place where Amina Adebayo, and likely several other women, had spent their final moments. The full horrific scope of his operation was laid bare. He had used his wealth and status to lure intelligent, ambitious, but vulnerable young women, promising them the world while planning their destruction. The spa was his web, and he was the spider. The trial of Arthur Finch was a media sensation. The prosecution, led by a determined district attorney, laid out the meticulous case built by Detective Rossi. The digital files, the sketchbook, and the forensic evidence painted an undeniable picture of a cold, calculating monster. A forensic psychologist testified, explaining Finch's methodology as a classic case of predatory grooming. A patient, systematic dismantling of a victim's support systems and autonomy. He explained that for men like Finch, the ultimate thrill was not just the act of killing, but the process of control, the godlike power of making and unmaking a life. Arthur Finch was found guilty on multiple counts of kidnapping and murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, condemned to spend the rest of his days in a cage, a fate he had designed for so many others. Justice, in its slow, methodical way, had been served. In the aftermath, the case of Amina Adebayo had a profound impact. It led to new protocols for missing persons cases involving young adults, ensuring they were taken seriously from the outset. It sparked a broader public conversation about the subtle nature of psychological manipulation and the ways in which predators exploit kindness and ambition. The Serenity Spa was shut down, its beautiful facade forever tainted by the darkness it had concealed. Amina's legacy became one of tragic bravery. Her final desperate acts, photographing the files, sending the text, hiding the sketchbook, were the very things that brought her killer to justice. She was not just a victim, she was the hero of her own tragic story. Her family, though devastated by their loss, established the Amina Adebayo Foundation in her honor, a charity dedicated to providing financial and mentorship support to young, underprivileged female artists, creating the kind of safe, genuine support system she had so desperately needed. The story of Amina Adebayo serves as a chilling and powerful cautionary tale. It is a reminder that monsters do not always lurk in the shadows. Sometimes they stand in the spotlight, cloaked in respectability and charm. It underscores the profound danger of loneliness and the way it can blind us to red flags. And it honors the memory of a brilliant young woman whose light was extinguished far too soon, but whose courage in her darkest hour shone a light that ultimately exposed the monster and saved countless others from the same fate. Her story, born of tragedy, became a clarion call for awareness, for vigilance, and for the fierce protection of the hopeful and the vulnerable among us.